And get started, I will just welcome everybody again to day 3 of our University of Maryland St. Joseph's Medical Center Cancer Institute Survivorship Week 2021. And as you've been part of a lot of the different events and know that there are many more to come, we're happy to welcome you. And Kathy, as you all probably know, is our holistic and integrative nurse that does our healing therapy and so many other things to provide overall health and wellness to our patients and to our staff. And today she's going to talk about aromatherapy. And Kathy's an excellent speaker, so I won't interrupt any longer. And Kathy, welcome.
Thanks, Ginny, and thanks for those who are participating virtually in this little presentation. So today I'm going to talk about aromatherapy, and as my title says, it's just going to be the basics. There is so much information to share when it comes to aromatherapy, and it could take weeks and years to get all of it in, but this is just an 001 course, just to touch on some of the points that I get asked about most frequently in my practice. And so I'm going to start with probably the most frequently enjoyed aromatherapy that everyone is familiar with. And although this is not aromatherapy that is used therapeutically, it's, in a practice, this is certainly one that we all individually, or many of us individually, use. And coffee. So aromatherapy is the practice of using substances that have volatile compounds that we can smell. And so many of the ones we use in a practice actually have beautiful smells, but not all of them. And even the ones who don't smell so good also can have some therapeutic value. But in general, our everyday use one is the coffee, and you smell it brewing and you know it's time to wake up, and you feel maybe more alert just by smelling it, or maybe you feel a little bit warm by doing that. And the responses that we get just to smelling coffee are actually more stimulated by our memory of our experiences as we enjoy coffee, because there haven't been any studies that have proven specifically just by the smelling of coffee the therapeutic responses to that, or the physiologic responses to that. So even so, coffee is really a lovely way to wake yourself up, to wake up literally and smell the coffee. And I was very surprised to find that when I was doing some research on essential oils, that they actually had a concentrated distilled essential oil of coffee. And I found the data sheet on that, which was very surprising to me. Basically, what it says is, yeah, we don't really know that there's aromatherapeutic value, except for the fact that there's this memory response, related to coffee. And they don't recommend that you use it in formulations for application to the skin or other such things. Really, it's just to be used in a diffuser. And so what I'm going to be talking about as far as aromatherapy in this talk is really the oils that we use for diffusion, and enjoying the value of aromatherapy through diffusion, which basically means to disperse the molecules of these volatile compounds into the air so that we can very quickly absorb them into our nose, into the olfactory bulb, which then sends a little chemical message and electrical message to a center, deep part of our brain called the limbic system, which then causes the release of all sorts of interesting neurotransmitters that shift our mood and our digestion and what have you. We're not going to talk about all of those specific effects. What I'm going to be talking about is how to use essential oils and how to enjoy them just on an everyday basis in your home. So the basics as I am presenting them for you here are one, how do you know that you have an authentic and quality essential oil? What type of diffuser would be right for you, for your needs, and for your budget? I often get questioned about diffusers. They're very confusing to figure out what's what when you see them in the store, to know what kind you want and why and how they work. And then the last part I'm going to share with you, where do you start with aromatherapy? Where do you start with essential oils, and which oils are good for what? That's another question that I get all the time, is how do you know what ones to use? It's so confusing, there are so many. And what I would say is that it's really best to start by using aromatherapy like you already have in your lifetime. We are constantly receiving smells and odors, and they are having effects on our awareness, on our mental alertness, on helping to calm our spirit, helping to open up our head and help us to breathe more clearly. And I would say that's actually the safest, easiest, most accessible way to enjoy aromatherapy. So things as simple as peeling an orange, you know, how everyone in the office or wherever you happen to be, when you peel an orange, everybody goes, ah, it's so nice. So oranges have a lot of very calming qualities about them. The essential oil that's in the peel of the orange that's dispersed into or diffused into the air, into the atmosphere, and absorbed by your nose. It sends a message to your brain and to your body that says, ah, well, how sweet. You know, life is sweet, and it opens up. And the energy of the orange also holds within it the bright sunshine, which is where they grow. So I would suggest that in your everyday life, you absorb the aromatherapy that's there. When we cook with herbs and spices, when we drink teas and we sniff the odors that are coming up from a lovely cup of peppermint tea, it helps to open up your head and helps to stimulate your brain and your mind and increases your circulation and thins mucus and those kinds of things. So that's the easiest, safest, most accessible way to use essential oils. And yet I know that currently there's a lot of buzz and has been over the last 10 years or so about using the concentrated essential oils that you find in those fancy little bottles. So those little bottles like that, for instance. And what do you do with those? So the first thing that I would like you to know is that these little bottles of essential oil are not to be trifled with. It's important to take them very seriously because they are a super, super concentrated formulation of the essential oils. And so a very, very small bottle, for instance, much tinier than that one, even smaller than this one, about a quarter of that of rose oil would take about a ton of roses to get the oil out of them. And so it's important to know that it's really, 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 really concentrated. And so it's important to be careful. Diffusing them with a diffuser is a really great way to use them because you're really only getting a few of the molecules into the air, which are going to have a very nice effect for you. But when you're trying to decide, oh gosh, you know, what would I use for what? Keep in mind that most of these things you're going to know already intuitively because you have lived with essential oils and beautiful smells throughout your whole life. But one little principle to go with is, ones that are good to start with would be the citrus scents, mints and herb scents, and floral scents, flowers. And so the citrus scents generally are have a sense of being clean and bright. They brighten the atmosphere around us and within us. So they also brighten our mood. They help us to feel more calm, more cheerful. Citrus oils have been used for cleaning for eons, you know, forever. So the citrus oils tend to be bright and sunshiny and uplifting and expanding. The mints and the herbs, they freshen the air, they open the airway. Think of peppermint, they open your sinuses and your lungs, and they also open your mind and help you to think more clearly. So that's why you might use mints and herbs. And the florals are very, very soothing to the spirit. So things like rose and like jasmine and chamomile and let's see here. Oh gosh, I can't think of it right now. Rose and lavender, for instance, are very soothing to the spirit and help to calm an overly stressed mind and a disheartened feeling. So let's move to our next slide. All right, so if you are looking to figure out whether you have an essential oil that really is an essential oil, and you know, how do you know it's an essential oil, and how are you sure you're getting what you're paying for or getting what you're looking for? You want to have some idea of how to assess the safety, the quality, and the value you are getting for what it is that you are purchasing. And so essential oils, much like a fine wine or a fine whiskey or a fine chocolate, have very much to do with the environment and the atmosphere and the climate where they are grown. And so the first clue that you have as to whether you're getting a good essential oil or not is how much does it cost? Which isn't to say that you have to spend a fortune for them, but keep in mind that if every version of essential oil that's being sold to you is being sold for exactly the same price, they're probably not authentic or really high quality. Because when you think about it, the raw material that's required for creating or obtaining an essential oil is going to vary a lot depending upon how special the climate is that it requires to grow, but also how much oil is actually in the natural substance. And so, for instance, an orange peel or a grapefruit peel or a lemon or a lime peel is going to have quite a bit of oil in it, for the volume of material that you have. But a rose petal is going to have very, very little oil in it. And so rose essential oil, the very, very concentrated form of the volatile oils, is going to be much more precious and more expensive than orange. And so sweet orange essential oil is going to be relatively reasonably priced. We'll say 15 milliliters, which is about 2 teaspoons, for about $6 or $7, something like that. However, rose oil, which comes at about a fourth of a teaspoon, about 2 milliliters, is going to cost you about $100. And so if someone is selling you rose oil for $5.99 for a 10 milliliter bottle, you can be pretty sure you're not actually getting rose oil. So let me give you another idea of how you can assess whether you're getting what you think you're getting. So when you look at the label of an essential oil bottle, it should have as the ingredient just the plant that the essential oil has been distilled from. And so lavender is one that many of us are familiar with, and it's been used for a very, very long time in lavender itself. The plant has been used in food and baking, and it's been used in cleansing and deodorizing. It's been used for skincare and cosmetics, what have you. But the essential oil that's distilled from lavender should really just have lavender in it. And you will know that it is lavender in it because it will list as the ingredient the botanical name of the plant that it comes from. And specifically, you can see on this example, when it says ingredients on that bottle, the ingredients are Lavandula angustifolia. And that's the genus and the species for the common or true lavender plant. There are a number of different varieties of that, but this is the one that's used most therapeutically. And this is the one that you would use to, we'll say, scent your room or scent your pillow to help you to sleep, or apply to your mosquito bite for to decrease the itching, what have you. And that's the only ingredient that it has in it, so that you know that what's in there is just the volatile essential oil from the lavender plant. So that's one measure of quality and authenticity that you know. And the other is that somewhere, either on the packaging or on the website of the person, the company that is bottling this essential oil, will have some information about their quality testing. And that quality testing should include GCMS, otherwise known as gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, which is a way of testing that all of the chemical components of the oil are consistent with the chemical components that come from the actual plant. And GMP just means that it is produced under good manufacturing practices, which means that it's a cleaned facility, that they're sure that they're separating the different plant matter that they're using to distill into the essential oils, what have you. So those are two quality measures that will tell you that you're actually getting a good quality product. So to speak to the difference between what's on the bottle and what you're getting, I have two examples of sweet orange oil, and let me turn around and get them from my little slides here. So I'm also going to get a magnifying glass because the printing on these bottles is ridiculously small. So for this particular oil, this essential oil, it says it is sweet orange oil, which is the common name, and that's going to be on the label. Well, when it also says 100% pure and natural. Those two words don't mean anything on a label. There is no legal definition for those. And the same is true when an oil label says that it is a therapeutic grade. None of those terms, natural, pure, therapeutic grade, have any legal definition. And so they're not actually guaranteeing anything to you. It's important that you read the label and you look to be sure that it has the botanical name, and you look on the website of the packaging to see that it has been produced and quality checked with this GCMS and the good manufacturing practices. So this ingredient list here on the back says that, first of all, it is cold pressed citrus sinensis, otherwise known as sweet orange oil. And it also tells you its source, which is from Brazil. Not all of them will tell you the source country of where they're grown, but some of them do, and that's kind of a nice thing to know. But that is the only ingredient in this, is that it is citrus sinensis oil that was cold pressed. And you can cold press a citrus peel and get oil out of it, but you have great difficulty cold pressing rose petal. So those are steam distilled. So that's all that's in here. The other thing about essential oils is that they should be in a sunlight protected bottle. So they're either going to be in an amber bottle or they're going to be in a blue bottle. If you get an oil that says it's an essential oil, but it's in a clear bottle, chances are very good it's not actually an essential oil, because sunlight, ultraviolet ray, degrades the quality of the essential oils. So that's the good bottle of essential oil that really is essential oil. And then here's one that is quite suspect essential oil. And I'm going to read for you, I'm going to do my best to read for you the ingredient list on this, and you're going to know right away that this is not what you want here. So it says the ingredients are verdix, citronate, methyl phenyl carbonyl acetate, alpha hexyl cinnamic aldehyde, linalool sweet orange terpene. And it goes on and on. There are quite a few lists. And so you can, if you can't read what it says, you're pretty sure you're not getting the thing that you think that you're getting. If it has all these chemical sounding names, it's made in a lab with chemicals, not from the plant matter. So you want to stay as far away from those as you possibly can, because not only do they not have the therapeutic properties that you're looking for with the essential oil, but they also have properties that can disrupt your thyroid function and can cause a lot of sinus congestion and headaches and hormonal disruption. So you don't want to use those. You want to use the real thing from the real plant, which actually has therapeutic and beneficial factors for your health. So that's just a little, how do you know you're getting what you think you're getting? So this GCMS testing, this is just a very quick slide that kind of shows you what that's all about. Basically, they take a sample of the essential oil, which is distilled from the plant. They put it in a little machine. The machine looks through for all of the various chemical compounds, of which, say, for instance, lavender, true lavender, Lavandula angustifolia, has in it about 100 different chemical components in it. And what we're looking for is the relative spike of those particular components that has a very specific signature to what Lavandula angustifolia is. Now, you don't have to have a chemistry degree in order to understand this, and you don't even have to understand all of this. What you have to know is that GCMS is a measure of quality, and you want to be sure that the company that you're buying your oil from does this testing to be sure that the oil that you're getting has not been adulterated with either chemicals in the lab to boost up certain components of this chemical profile, or that it actually is made with a cheaper form of plant matter that isn't going to have the beneficial effects that you're looking for. So that's GCMS. Other things that are important, oops, I'm just going to go up here for a second. I explained that when it says, 100% therapeutic grade, pure and natural, those words don't mean anything. You need to make sure that you have actually the name of the botanical plant that you're looking for as the only ingredient in the label. Another thing to think about as far as quality and cost are concerned is that, are you getting a bottle that is full of concentrated essential oil from the plant, or are you getting one that has been diluted with a carrier oil? And there are many, many different carrier oils. It could be as simple as coconut oil or grapeseed oil, or it could be olive oil, or it could be jojoba oil, which is more expensive and better for your skin. There could be a number of different oils. The cheaper ones are diluted in soybean oil, which is very cheap, oftentimes GMO, and the amount of actual essential oil that you're getting is minuscule. And so, for example, I want to show you some things. I will make a disclaimer that I am not tied to any particular brand of essential oil. What I am tied to is that it is a quality brand that is ethically sourced and quality controlled. So oftentimes you can buy essential oils in packs, in variety packs like this. This happens to be a pack of roll-on that have been made so that they are safe to apply directly to your skin. So there's a few drops of essential oil in a little vial that has a little roller ball on it, and there's a lot of a carrier oil in here. So this is done intentionally so that they are ready to be used right away as a roll-on, like a perfume, what have you. And they are safe to the skin. They are diluted as such. And then there are essential oil kits, sort of like this one, that has some basic oils. We're going to talk about 3 of those basic oils a little bit later. And this actually has the full concentrated essential oil. Actually, well, there's a bunch of them in here, 6 of them to be exact. I took one of them out already, which is the orange essential oil. So this orange essential oil, you will be able to use for a very, very long time, either in your diffuser or if you choose to use it as a direct application, which I'm not actually going to talk about too much today, but just know that that is never used straight from the bottle. It's way too concentrated. It is always diluted in what they call a carrier oil. And it's diluted roughly at about 3, maybe 4 drops into a tablespoon of essential oil. And so that's essentially what you're getting when you buy this. But you might pay $6 for this, which is actually a tablespoon of the carrier oil and 5 drops of essential oil. Or you could pay $6 for this bottle of essential oil and make yourself many, 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 many of these for direct application. So as far as cost is concerned, you might want to buy just the straight up essential oil and create for yourself blends as you need them. That's just a cost-effective consideration when you're looking at essential oils. So we'll move on to diffusers. So diffusers, for many, are very confusing as to what is a diffuser and how do you know which one you want to get. And there are many different kinds. Diffusing just means to put tiny, tiny, tiny droplets of this volatile oil into the air so that you can enjoy them, so that they can clear the atmosphere, so they can brighten your mood, so they can freshen and deodorize your environment, what have you. So you can do this very, very simply. And now we're going to go to the show and tell part here. So diffusing. So a very simple, easy way to diffuse would be just to get yourself to make a little potpourri, a little sachet, a little mesh bag, and pour some, this happens to be lavender, dried lavender blossoms. You just pour a few lavender blossoms in there, tie it up, you put it in your dresser, you tuck it in your shirt or in your bra or whatever, you take it out and sniff it when you want to, and you can enjoy the beneficial effects of lavender just by sniffing that. Folks have been doing that form of diffusion for a very, very long time, keeping moths out of their dresser drawers, out of their woolens and things like that. So that's just one way that you could do it. This is another way that folks see these all the time, and they often use them inappropriately, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It is just a very easy diffuser. You do have to watch it because you will use a live flame in there with a little tea light, with a little candle there. You light the tea light, you put some water first into this little depression here, and then you put a few drops of your essential oil on top of the water. And as the water heats from the candle, it disperses the essential oils into the room. What you don't want to do is put direct essential oil in here because it will just burn it and it will smell pretty terrible. So this is a very, very simple, very, very cheap way to do it, but it does involve fire. So you want to make sure that you stay present where it is so that you don't get into trouble. You could create a very reasonable diffuser for yourself, a passive diffuser, by using a little clay pot or little clay. Sometimes folks have little clay ornaments or things like that that they make. And this is just a nice absorbent material that will gradually diffuse, allow to evaporate an essential oil. So you could just put a few drops of the essential oil just on the pot, just a little tiny bit, and just set that somewhere in the room and allow that to just passively disperse into the air, to diffuse into the air. So that's another very rare way that you can create for yourself a nice, easy diffuser. But then there are the fancy, fancy diffusers that you might think about purchasing. The easiest one, the simplest one, is a little fan diffuser. It can be any design. That's not important. It can be very small, it could be bigger, what have you. It's not going to diffuse a very, very large room, but it's very good for a bathroom, for a bedroom, a small room, have you. This part is just for show. The working part is this part. It always has a cap on it of some sort. And then inside of it, not here, but at any rate, what happens is there's a little felt pad that fits in this little spot right here. And you put a few drops on that felt pad, and then you put the cap on it and the top on it, you turn it on, and then beneath it, I've taken this one apart so you can see how it actually works. There's a little fan. And so the beauty of this is that you're not going to get essential oil all over the place. You're not going to make anything wet. You don't have to worry about a fire. It's very portable. It's very, very cheap to run. And still it disperses the essential oil into the air very, very nicely. The other nice thing about this kind of a diffuser is that it has a little plug, a little USB port. So you can power it many different ways. You can power it just by plugging it into your computer. Or you could put it into a wall plug that works with a USB port, and you could plug it that way. Or you can use it for travel because it has a little 3 AA battery section in the bottom. So you can power this a number of different ways. It lasts for a very long time. It uses very, very little power, and it's very reasonable and safe. So you would only put a few drops in here. You wouldn't want to saturate the whole little cotton pad that fits on top of here because you don't want any of that oil to drip down into the fan that will gum up the works for you. So really just a few drops of essential oil. If you bought this little tiny bottle of orange essential oil, it would last you months and months and months at just a few drops at a time. And it would sweeten up the air, say with sweet orange oil. So that's just a little air fan diffuser. That's one very, very simple, generally very reasonable one. It probably costs anywhere from $12 to $16, something like that. So very affordable. In my experience, these will run for about a year of constant use, and then they just get sticky and they don't work anymore and you have to replace them. And that is true with many diffusers that you will purchase. They are not a lifelong purchase. They are really going to last you about a year before they wear out. So that's one way to do a diffuser. That's the simplest, easiest, most reasonable way to do it. Then there is a direct atomizer type of a diffuser that takes the essential oil bottle with all of the full concentrated essential oil in it, and it creates a mist directly from the oil. So it's a very concentrated scent that you're going to get dispersed into your room. And this kind is going to last you probably a year at most before it gets gummed up and doesn't work for you. This is going to be one of the more expensive kind of diffusers. It's going to cost you probably $30. Some of them cost upwards to $100, depending upon how fancy you buy them. It works really, really very nicely, and you get a really great concentrated scent through the room. And you probably go through a bottle of essential oil in about a week, probably. So this is a nice kind to buy and lasts for a pretty good while. There is another one very similar to this that I have purchased that works the same way, but I would recommend against getting it. And I'm going to show you that one in just a moment. Again, this one works with a plug that plugs into a USB port, or it plugs into the wall plug. It is not battery operated though. It's meant to stay wherever it is. This is another version of that more concentrated diffuser, but the bottle goes on the top and drips down into the chamber that then sends out a mist into the air through this little port right here. And what I have found with this particular version is it has only lasted about a month, which is not very good. It costs about $20. And the problem with this one is it drips constantly and gums up the works. And so everything gets gooey. And instead of having this lovely little mist of beautiful scent, you get this dribble of stuff down onto your furniture. So I would recommend against getting this, get this direct full concentrated diffuser. It's not a good one. So don't go for that brand. Learn from my experience. And then there's the one that most people are familiar with, which is the water diffuser. And it's really very lovely. I have it back here going in the room, and I'm gonna turn it off and show you how that works. Many of them are gonna have a very, very fancy covering on them that's gonna complement your decor. But the guts of it is what's important, that you understand how that works. So let me unplug this one so I don't electrocute myself because it has water, and I'll show you how it works. So some of them have fancy lights like this one, and some of them don't. They are just mist diffusers. You can get very, very expensive ones, and you can get reasonable ones. This one costs about $30. This part on the top is just decoration. This is what's important, and this is how this one works. So this part is just the funnel that's going to send the stream up to the top hole of whatever decorative cover that you have on it. So it just sends this little stream of this water vapor that has this essential oil dispersed in it in tiny, tiny, tiny droplets that scent your air. Still going here, has a little bit of steam. So that's just the top. And then inside, you see that little part in the center, which is what creates the atomization. It excites the water so that it creates the steam, a lot like your clothes iron does, except for it's not hot steam, it's just the water that's being excited. And as the water gets excited and creates the vapor, it collects with it a few drops of oil that you have put on top of the water that you put here. So all of these have a fill line, so it still has water in it. It's going to have a max fill line. It's important that you don't fill it past that because you're just going to have water bubbling out on top of your furniture. So you only fill it with just tap water to that line. And then you just put a few drops, like maybe 4 or 5 drops, literally tiny little drops from the bottle of essential oil into the water. And then you put the lid on it, which is important. And then your fancy covering on it. And then you turn it on and it creates the steam. Let me plug this in so you can do that. For a second. Yeah. There we go. I don't know if you can see the mist that is happening there. Go. There you go. So that's how that creates the mist that is scented then, that helps to sweeten your atmosphere. So that's the water diffuser. Really nice to use this one in the wintertime when if you have dry heat, if you have hot air heat, this is a very nice one to use. And this one actually lasts for a pretty long time, as long as you are sure to add water first, and then a few drops of essential oil on top of the water. Otherwise, the oil will gum up the works and you won't get this nice steam. Now, just as a point of interest, this particular one I hadn't been using for quite a while. And when I started it up, it didn't work. So what I did to clean it, much like you would do your steam iron when it has a lot of sediment on it, is I put a little bit of white vinegar in the reservoir and then ran it for a little bit, and then voila, it started to work again. So I poured out the vinegar and then I put just plain water in it. So if you get one and it gets kind of gummed up and it doesn't do it, you might try that little trick just to sort of clean off the electrodes that are creating this mist, bubbling up this water, and then it works again for a while. So that's that. So let me go back to my screen share. And I want to tell you a little bit about 3 oils that I think are really, really great to use as starter oils. I recommend that folks don't go out for like a full smorgasbord of oils, because it's important for you to get to know the oils that you're using and how they make you feel. And which ones do you want to use when you want to feel uplifted, and which ones do you want to feel when you want to feel settled and calm, which ones when you have a nervous tummy, those kind of things. So I suggest that you really start with these simple oils. The ones that I'm suggesting to you are considered very safe, and they're very accessible, and they're very reasonable to purchase. Alrighty, so here are 3 lovely, safe, versatile, and therapeutic scents that you might use. What I have on the screen is the purplest lavender, or Lavandula angustifolia, and then beneath that I have peppermint, which is Mentha piperita, and then next to that I have 2 citrus oils. I have sweet orange oil, which is the Citrus sinensis, and the grapefruit, pink grapefruit, which is called the Citrus paradisi, or the citrus of paradise. So I want to just read for you the therapeutic properties that have been studied and investigated for these particular oils. All 3 of those are considered safe to use, non-toxic, and non-sensitizing. However, I will tell you that you want to be very cautious not to use the concentrated essential oil form of these around children or pets. Cats and dogs don't do well with essential oils being dispersed, diffused into the air in a concentrated form. Their livers cannot process them, and they can be toxic to them. And little children beneath the age of 2 also can be very sensitive, and there have been some stories of circulatory collapse, specifically with peppermint oil, because of the menthol concentration that's in that. So I would say be very, very cautious and not use them around small children or pets or folks who are very, very fragile in their health. So having said that, made that disclaimer, I will read to you some of the therapeutic properties of the lavender, the peppermint, and the sweet orange. So lavender, which is known as true lavender, botanically Lavandula angustifolia, is an adaptogenic herb. And what that means is that when something is considered an adaptogen, it helps to modulate the stress response. So it helps to, if your energy is too out there and just diffuse, that it helps to bring you back to center. And if your energy is really depleted and you have none, it helps you to bring you back up to center. So this is considered a centering herb. So it has been associated with anti-anxiety properties. It is known to be an analgesic, meaning that it is pain relieving. It is good for headaches and migraines. It helps to quiet down and soothe muscle spasms and muscle pain and soreness. It's great for bug bites. It is an antiseptic herb, meaning it makes it inhospitable for germs, microbes to grow. It is antimicrobial, meaning that it actually kills microorganisms, and it is non-specific to drug-resistant strains, meaning it kills them all. Yet it is anti-inflammatory to your system. It is considered carminative, which means it helps to quell tummy upsets, bloating, and gas, and indigestion. It soothes cramping, uterine cramping, muscle cramping. It eases irritability and insomnia. It helps to quiet the mind, to settle the mind. It has a long-standing history of being wound healing, skin healing, for abrasions and cuts, and for burns. It is what they call a rubefacient, which means it helps to increase the circulation to the wound, as well as being pain relieving, as well as being itch relieving. It is a tonic, considered a tonic. It relieves exhaustion. And it is also an insecticide, as we heard a little while ago when I was talking about putting some of those blossoms of the lavender into a little sachet and tucking them into your drawer with your woolens, which has been used forever. But it's also good to be used when you have a lot of mosquitoes and what have you around, to diffuse some essential oil of lavender, keeps the mosquitoes away. So that's lavender, or Lavandula angustifolia. And then peppermint, it has the qualities of also being analgesic, so good for headaches and bug bites, pain. It is a febrifuge, which everyone knows because of the menthol qualities, which means it decreases a fever, the feeling of warmth in the body. It is cooling to the skin. It is cooling to the respiratory tract. It is also anti-inflammatory. It is puretic, which means it decreases itchiness of the skin. It is antiseptic. It helps to clean bacteria and microbes from the air. It is antispasmodic. We know that because we eat peppermints after heavy dinner, a heavy meal. We also do peppermint tea to calm a nervous tummy, what have you. So peppermint diffused into the air is also good for those things. Diffusion of peppermint oil has also been shown to be antiviral, basically exploding those little viruses in the air, in the atmosphere. It is carminative, meaning it calms the gas in your belly, in your digestive tract. It is also, as we know, an expectorant. It helps to clear up your head and to thin the mucus to help you get junk out of your lungs and out of your sinuses. And it's considered a nervine, which means it calms nerve pain, nerve irritation. So that's peppermint. And then we have sweet orange. Sweet orange, and we're talking again about diffusing these oils into the air. I'm not talking about direct application, because with direct application of the citrus oils specifically, you certainly want to dilute them in a carrier oil before you would apply them to your skin. And with the citrus oil specifically, you want to not go out into the sun for several hours after you have applied something with citrus oil into your skin, because they are photosensitizing and you can get a very, very nasty burn. So yeah, so that's the disclaimer for the sweet orange oil. Other than that, diffusing it decreases nervous tension and stress. It's been shown to actually decrease blood pressure just by inhaling the orange, just by peeling an orange. It helps to just calm your circulatory system down. It is also antidepressant. Again, like the others, it is anti-inflammatory. It is also antiseptic, meaning diffusing it into the air helps to decrease the bacterial load, the viral load, what have you. It is, again, antibacterial and antiviral. It is a digestive, meaning it helps you to digest the foods that you have consumed, especially the fatty foods, the oily foods. It is a sedative. It calms the nervousness of the brain. It is a digestive and a lymphatic stimulant. So it helps to move the lymph in your system to take the waste products away from the cells and help you to eliminate them from your system. So those are three oils that I think would be really wonderful starter oils to diffuse. They're also relatively inexpensive. Oftentimes essential oils will come in these little bottles that are either 9 milliliters up to sometimes 15 milliliters. 15 milliliters is about 2 teaspoons, roughly a tablespoon, close but not quite. At any rate, sweet orange oil should cost you around $6, give or take, for that amount of essential oil, which will last you a long time. A nice quality Lavandula angustifolia, true lavender, will cost you $10 to $15 for that amount. And peppermint oil will also cost you about $10 for that amount. And so those are the three that I'm suggesting for you. And then I'm just about finished here. I wanted to leave you with some suggestions on, where you might find essential oils that are quality tested, that are pure, and you are sure you're getting what you want, and they are ethically sourced and reliable, and you will find a nice selection of them. One of the brands that I like is Oracacia. I'm going to show you about that in a minute. It comes in these iconic little square bottles. They are 15 milliliters, so you get actually a pretty good value for your money. And I know for a fact that they are ethically sourced and quality controlled, and they're very available. So you can buy those at places like Sprouts, Mom's Organic Market, Whole Foods, things like that. So they're easy to come by. Certainly, you can also order them online. So that's one that you could, and they have a very nice website that has a lot of information that could take you further in learning about essential oils, their safety, what you would use them for, how you would use them. Yeah, so that's the Oracacia brand. Then there's another brand that I really like, that is the Floracopia brand, which is a more couture brand, I will say, but they also have a lot of really excellent educational information on their website, and they will tell you about their quality control and testing so that you can be sure you're getting what you think you're getting. These you won't find retail, these you actually have to buy online. And then there's another brand that I will recommend to you. Again, I'm not tied to any one particular brand. What's important to me is quality and the ethical sourcing of the product. And so here's another one that is called the Tisserand brand. Tisserand is a gentleman who has literally written the book on essential oil safety and for therapeutic use for professionals. So he has a very high quality brand that is, again, ethically sourced, and you can be sure you're getting what you think you're getting and reasonably priced, depending upon, what it is that it's all reasonably priced, but it's not all cheap because different oils, as I said in the beginning, are going to cost you different amounts because of how they are sourced. And much like a fine wine will taste a lot different than Boone's Farm, the same is true for your essential oils and the therapeutic value that they have for the use that you intend. So that's what I have for you. I'm going to just come down to this next slide where I have just listed the websites for those 3 companies. Feel free, of course, to look for, whatever you like. Just keep in mind the things that I was telling you about being sure that you're getting the quality of product that you want and that it has been tested for its authenticity and its therapeutic value. And then you might want to also just invest a little bit of money. I'm not saying that this particular book is the best one to do, but it's a nice idea to just have a little reference book that's going to tell you a little bit more about the essential oils and how to use them and where they're grown and what they've been used for traditionally and what are the cautions that you should take when you're using different essential oils. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that it's been helpful, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Kathy. We actually did have a question come in. It says, can the different scented oils be combined for diffusing for an increased effect?
The answer is yes, absolutely they can. There are a lot of considerations when you're using different oils, but I would say use ones that you like. Don't use a lot of them. Use a few drops of this and a few drops of that, but maxing it out as if you're using it in a diffuser, probably the maximum amount of drops you want to put in a diffuser, whether it's this fancy steam diffuser here, or whether it's the cloth one, is probably 6 drops total of oil is what you want to do. Because if you get a scent that you really don't like, you can pour it out and not feel too bad that you wasted all of your money from your precious essential oil. So yeah, absolutely, give them a try, blend them. Is that it? Oh, you're welcome, Melissa. Thank you for asking the question. Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions? Sorry.
Thank you.
And Kathy, also during your healing therapy sessions, you use, your aromatherapy, and they can have kind of a experience with the different scents that way. So that's a good thing as well.
Yes, absolutely. Please do join us for a healing therapy session here at the Wellness and Support Center at Barbara Posner Center in the Cancer Institute. I would love to meet you.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you everyone for joining us. As always, I have recorded this session, so it'll be available later, but have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.